Yeah, I just felt that I'd kind of gone as far as I could in Australia. You know, I'd had a good run there, worked on a lot of really good records, but it sort of came time that I felt like things weren't going to necessarily change there unless I did something drastic. So I did and moved to England. So I didn't really know anyone when I came here, so it took a long time. I didn't work for quite a while and just sort of tried to get in as best I could. It's kind of tricky. It's not like you're kind of going to start again as such, because you can't really do that. Having been successful, you can't all of a sudden come back and be an assistant. It just doesn't work like that. So we just had to look at different ways of getting new contacts and sort of trying to not make the same mistakes. But there were pivotal moments where I met sort of certain different people along the way, where you just sort of start to realise that things are coming together. Not that you realise at the time, but usually when you look back on it, you realise that was a moment where things start to come together. So I started working at a place called Chiswick Reach, which is where it sort of changed the way I did things, because Chiswick Reach was such a weird little place that nothing I'd learnt before worked there. So I had to relearn, if you like, or just experiment until we figured out what would work. And that's and there I met James Lavelle from Uncle, doing remixes, which I still work with to this day. That just sort of set me on a different path, and there was another studio called 2 Kilohertz that had an old EMI desk, which and I met a lot of people there, people taking a similar journey at the same time with wanting to do things that'll be a bit quirky and a little bit different rather than coming to a nice posh studio like this. But I think for a lot of artists it kind of puts them at ease a bit more when it's a funny little studio, and then you can mess about and kind of do things a little bit differently to what you would normally do. So to be fair, a lot of the film work I do is kind of band-based music, if you like. So I'm not going to sit there and do a lot of score music or things like that. It'll be band-based stuff that's put into a film. So technically it's not that much different. It's just there is a different mixing stage. It's a little bit different, but the mentality behind it all stays pretty much the same. So for a bit of consistency's sake, I do take around a bit of my own gear. A rack of old Neves usually goes with me everywhere, so that helps get some consistency in what you're doing, and it's always a good fallback on, because the place is let's say a little bit too quirky, then at least you've got something solid, and the Neves definitely fit that bill. Yeah, the MPG Awards are voted on what other producers and engineers think is a good record, as opposed to sales and a successful record. So anyone can enter anything, so it's not like there's no barrier that other than it being a good record or an interesting record to get through to the final voting round. So being peer based, that's quite an important factor. Obviously there are some successful records in there, but it's just kind of, success is not the only guarantee of it getting through. So if a record that was, as far as the production community was concerned, was a fantastic sounding record, that's just as likely to get through to something that was a number one record. So there's no criteria other than it being good. At the MPG, we've been working quite hard on just bringing awareness to the fact that we exist in the industry. Like a lot of it, especially to the general public, is not very visible at all. So we've been doing a lot of work through UK Music, which we're a member of, just to make politicians and to some respect the general public a bit more aware that we exist. And the term producer is such a wide-ranging remit nowadays, that it's quite a struggle to kind of get people to understand there's this type of producer and there's this type of producer, and then behind all those producers are engineers and assistants and studios and a whole team of people that kind of make it all work. Whereas and the term producer could mean somebody who wrote the song, as opposed to the traditional producer that kind of organised it all, if you know what I mean. So there's a bit, just all these different roles, and just trying to get that across to people who didn't even understand that a producer existed sort of 6 months ago has been a bit of a struggle, but we're getting there. So definitely more work to do with kind of just getting that awareness, especially for engineering and studios. I think a lot of the producers often get the spotlight, so there's a lot of other people there that make the whole thing work as well. I like working with different people. I like working with artists that come not necessarily with a kind of a technical vision, if you like. So like a true artist that just feeling it and just kind of, and then wants me to interpret those feelings into sounds. That's quite enjoyable, and just like that can be any genre, which is I guess why my CV is quite wide ranging. So that doesn't require a certain kind of not kind of just do heavy metal and kind of be in that genre totally. I can jump from Rammstein remix to Katie Mellower in the same month. So that's which keeps it interesting.